I'm Sean Foley here at the Core Golf Academy in Winter Garden, Florida. And we're at Orange County National today, and I'm with my friends from Swing Catalyst. I've been using a Swing Catalyst for just under a year now, and I've been aware of it for a little bit longer than that. It's amazing at this time in 2015 that force plates have been used in every other sport and mostly Olympic sports where athletes aren't making any money. And then in sports where athletes are making a lot of money, we don't have a lot of evidence or data of what's happening. And I've been around golf instruction since I was 10 years of age. In the last 30 years, I've heard on a number of occasions that it all starts from the ground up. But there's never been any definitive or direct correlation to what that actually means. So it's almost impossible to do that without being able to measure what's actually happening, because in most cases, if we're just using our eye, we're led to complete speculation. So I've had players who at the top of the swing, they look like they've shifted their weight this much, but 95% of the pressure and the push and the torque they're creating is into their left foot. All right, so it'd be almost impossible to see that with just the human eye. And so the importance of it in a case like with Justin Rose with his driver, I'd say in the last 5 months we've probably picked up the ability to go 6 miles an hour faster, which is equivalent roughly to 18 yards in the air, ball contact aside, but consistently 4 miles an hour more. And he's done a lot of good work in the gym. But what we've learned on the Swing Catalyst is there's a complete difference in what we understand as far as weight shift and pressure. So when we're talking about pressure, we're talking about pressure creating force, all right? And that really is is the equivalent of mass times acceleration. And then weight shift, which is basically just the shifting of body mass, all right? And what we're noticing in Justin's case, and it was especially with his driver, wasn't only the effect that it had on power, but the effect that it had on the way the club was moving through the golf ball. So in his case, it was excessively out to the right, which brought in too many hooks. So, we ultimately learned two things with the Swing Catalyst, is that Justin would be, at this point in his backswing, he would be about 70% of the pressure in his right side. So understand that pressure into the right side is how much his foot is pushing into the ground in this horizontal axis, and then also what's happening from the pressure into the toe and into the heel. So the direction of this force is moving down and into the foot and outside the foot and into the heel. So as he's creating torque against the ground, he was at 70%. And then what he was so quickly was he was at 90% back to putting pressure in his left foot. So by the time he got into impact, he was only at 75%. So when we punch the ground, it punches us back. So when he went from here and early shifted this pressure this way, it pushed him back up and out of it, which is what led his path to the right and also caused the velocity of the club to be slower. So knowing that I come from years of instruction, it's always been about get to your left side, get to your left side, get to your left side. I've always felt the necessity to explain to clients that it's really not about getting to your left side, it's about getting off of your right side. So if you haven't created enough torque and enough friction and enough push into here, it's very difficult, one, to get the clockwise effect of it, and then two, to be able to use these muscles that are creating in contraction that force to push you into adduction and get through the ball. So with Rosie, we went to where we pushed down harder for longer and kept pushing down for longer in the downswing. So he went from, in the original, 70% pressure here, 30% there, quickly to 90, and then 75-25. Now, what he's doing now is he's getting roughly to around 85. And understand on the video, his head's not done anything different. His head and the center of his body still look exactly the same. So he's not doing this to create more pressure. Once again, that's me shifting my body mass, not my center of pressure. So when we get Rosie to 85, then he's starting the downswing, he's 70, he's 60, he's 50, and then all of a sudden at impact, he's now 94.6. So what we're noticing with clubhead speed is it's just not that the shift of pressure is from right to left, but is the increase and the speed that it happens at. So getting Rosie to store up and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing is really what's allowed us to pick up all that extra speed. So he's now in balance more than ever without any sense of trying to shift his body mass over to his left side. So that's how it's been helpful. But that's the difference between people needing to understand this. If everyone says it's from the ground up, then we have to understand what that means. And the great thing about Swing Catalyst is it's ultimately the first device with the type of technology to explain to us how that's happening, the effect on the speed, the effect on accuracy, and then really the effect on injury.